Democrats would embrace DOGE if they weren't so terrified of being busted by it. And we should go ahead and just call it the uniparty swamp. It's not just the Democrats. There are plenty of Republicans who are also terrified of DOGE. They just don't have the luxury of being able to speak out against it, because then it would give away their stance. And I say that, but there are actually some Republicans who are coming around and saying, oh, Elon's cutting too much. Elon's going too far. They're being a little bit more quiet about it, because they realize that the vast majority of Republicans are in favor of these massive cuts. But here's the thing. A whole bunch of Democrats are in favor of it as well, especially when you don't frame it from the perspective. If you don't mention Elon Musk and you don't mention Donald Trump, and you just ask them the flat out questions, do you think that our government is run inefficiently? Do you think that there should be major cuts in what the government does? Vast majority of them would say yes. It's only when you start throwing in, well, President Trump has, and then you start, and also Elon Musk, and that's when Democrat voters really start to cringe. They fall back to their default setting of orange man bad and rich billionaire space dude bad, whatever. Alex Karp, speaking of brilliant dudes, Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, is I would say he's one of my favorite transitioning Democrats. There's a lot of them, obviously. A lot of them out there who have been Democrats, perhaps even their entire lives, who are now starting to at least become independent, if not full-blown Republican. And we can, of course, thank President Trump for a good chunk of that. But we can also thank the Democrats, because they have, over the last 4.5 years, have thoroughly exposed themselves for their true allegiance. And that allegiance, of course, is not to the United States of America, to the Constitution, or to the American people. But one would think that, based upon the popularity of DOGE, because we're looking at some polls say like 73%, and those are the low-end polls. Other polls are showing much higher appreciation and acceptance, and just Americans cheering for these cuts. So you'd think that they would see the writing on the wall. And you'd think that they would come around, perhaps, and maybe start saying, hey, you know what? We want to be part of the conversation. But they're not. And Alex Karp was sort of confused by this. Watch.
90% of the country's like, get rid of that fraud, waste, and abuse. And I just view this as yet another example of the progressive left boxing themselves into a suicide dance.
Standard operating procedure, and really for both parties, is to oppose whatever the other party's doing, especially if you don't have any power, such as the Democrats right now, with the Republicans having majorities in the House, the Senate, and control of the White House. It feels like they have to just lash out. That's what they generally do, just as, to be fair, Republicans do the same thing. At the beginning of every Democrat term, first 2 years of Obama, they were lashing out. First 2 years of Biden, they were lashing out because they didn't have any power, just as the Democrats have no legislative or executive power as of right now. With that said, this is a different situation. Because of the immense popularity of DOGE, it would behoove Democrats to go to Elon Musk and say, hey, we want to be part of this. We don't agree with your boss, and we don't agree with all of the things that you're doing, but we know that you can do good, so we want to talk. We want to be part of this. And you know what he would do? He would say, come on in. Let's talk. Explain to me why we shouldn't cut this or why we should cut that. And he would listen. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to talk to him at all. Here's Alex Karp again explaining it.
What the progressive left should be doing is saying, okay, Elon, you're clearly the most qualified person in the world to do something like this. We want to dialogue with you about how you're doing and what are you doing. I don't believe that's actually what happened.
It's definitely not what has happened. I hope it does. Look, I am not a fan of the Democrat Party, but I think that they could actually, if they tried, they could actually contribute to this. Now, I could always make a joke about how they know where more of the bodies are buried, and that would help Elon Musk to do his job better. But I won't make that joke. That would be wrong. But what's not wrong is the fact that we don't trust them And it's not just the Democrats. We don't trust Washington, D.C., and it's not just the politicians that we don't trust. We don't trust the bureaucrats. And it's not even just the bureaucrats that we don't trust or the politicians. We don't trust the institutions themselves. And as Alex Karp noted, once again, that's a big problem.
What is the biggest problem in this society? Biggest problem in this society from my perspective is legitimacy of our institutions. Why aren't they legitimate?
He is absolutely correct. It is a lack of trust in institutions that's really making it difficult for us as a nation to advance. And I have a special guest with me, but he's going to depart here any second as soon as we play this next clip. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and play the next clip.
The right response is, we want this to happen, we want to happen, we want to be involved in the dialogue. The real response is, it feels like the people criticizing Elon don't want it to happen. And this is going to destroy those people.
So they do have an easy button, they being the uniparty swamp, or really anyone on Capitol Hill. Any incumbent on Capitol Hill has an easy button to re-election. It's called hopping on the DOGE train. If you're a Republican, you hop on the DOGE train and you say, I'm advancing President Trump's agenda, and you will be reelected. If you're a Democrat, you hop on the DOGE train and you say, I'm embracing bipartisanship for the sake of cutting waste and saving my constituents money and saving them heartache and trying to get rid of government bloat. It's a winning ticket. It's the easy button. Hop on DOGE, help DOGE be successful, get them in, get them out, and then we move forward with a much, much, much more efficient government, and everybody is happier. Except that there's one piece of information that Alex Karp may not be aware of. That piece of information is the fact that what DOGE is uncovering is more than just waste. DOGE is uncovering and will continue to uncover corruption, fraud, abuse. In other words, members of the uniparty swamp, not just on Capitol Hill, but also bureaucrats, and not just in D.C., nationwide, they risk, as a result of DOGE's efforts, they risk getting busted. Busted for their sins, in many cases, busted for their crimes. There are people that if DOGE continues to dig as it's digging and does even more, there are people in D.C. and across the country who will go to jail because they will be exposed. What DOGE is doing, it's cutting waste. That's great. It's making government more efficient. That's great. But the reason there's this unhinged, absolutely unhinged, and unpopular dissent against DOGE is because these people feel that DOGE is an existential threat, not to America, but to their cons, their scams, their money laundering, their influence peddling, everything. The things that they've done in office as a politician or a bureaucrat, they realize that if they were to get busted, that the best case scenario is that they're booted out of politics. That's the best thing that could happen to them. The worst thing that could happen to them is that they could go to jail. This is why they're fighting so hard. It's not because they fear an efficient government. It's not because they're so scared. Oh my gosh, think of all of the transgender Indians that aren't going to be able to have their surgeries because Elon Musk cut funding. That's not what they're scared of. They're scared on behalf of their own hides. They're scared on behalf of the deep state. They're scared on behalf of their version of the United States of America, which is the United States of America under the globalist elite cabal. They've been building this foundation for a long time. DOGE threatens to tear that foundation down. And that's why they're terrified. That's why they are unhinged. That's why they are literally losing sleep over this. They might not like Donald Trump, but they're terrified of Elon Musk. Please go to jdrucker.com/find, jdrucker.com/find. You'll find all of the various places where I publish my work, my podcasts, my videos, my socials, everything like that. jdrucker.com/find.